Hi and welcome. This is the first of several sessions designed to put you in effective control of your projects to eliminate waste and ensure your project success. To equip you to reduce the time and cost of projects while improving the results. You'll learn why projects are set up to fail, to go over time and over budget over and over again because of the lack of these controls. And through these sessions, you'll discover what you need to know to control time, cost, and delivery of your strategy, of your projects, and to eliminate the high levels of waste and optimize your project investment value. Projects are important. They're how we implement strategy, improve the business, respond to the market, increase productivity, change the industry, meet or exceed customer expectations. They determine your organization's future capabilities and competitiveness. But they're also wasteful, costly, time-consuming, and very variable in output. We call projects the last profit frontier, the last bastion of waste, loss of value, and excessive costs that need to be tackled. Unfortunately, too often, they're the cause of fury, frustration, and failure that compromises your projects, compromises your future, compromises your business. I'm sure all of you at some time have been frustrated with your projects, if not all the time. You're not alone. The system is broken despite all the best efforts of the project managers and their methodologies. Projects are about improving business performance, period. They do not exist for their own sake, to see if, say, this time we could bring something in on time, on budget. They exist to change and improve the business, but too often they don't. The system is broken. Deming, the quality guru, said that a system is in control when the goals of the system can be predictably met better than 95% of the time. Better than 95% of the time. On our measures and others, the failure rate that we can predict on one dimension or another, not outright failure, we'll cover that in a moment, is more like 95%. Only about 5% of projects are truly successful. 5%. That is an amazingly low figure, and it hasn't changed in 20 years. We have here a process that's out of control. But what if I could tell you how to move and be part of this 5% successful projects? What would that be worth to you? You'll see in a moment. What if you could bring all your project delivery processes under full control? That's what we're going to talk about. There are some shocking statistics in relation to projects that people just accept, people quote, people talk about, but people don't seem to do much about it. The first figure is 60-70% of projects are challenged. That means over time, over budget, not to specification, or any combination of these. That's not good, but it's not the worst. Probably worse is that 40% of projects that are delivered leave the organisation worse off than when they started. I've just finished trying to rescue a project that took 5 years to be implemented, and after 1 year of trying to get the project working, the staff voted that they're actually worse off than if before the project was actually started. And then there's about 15% that fail completely, that vaporise, that disappear, that just never finish. So this leaves about 5% that truly succeed, that deliver everything that they set out to deliver at the lowest practical time and cost, and realise the benefits. 5%. I originally measured this at 3% back in the 90s. More recent studies have raised this to 5%. We're not making much progress. But McKinsey's and others have also shown that those that do it well, those that manage their projects well and invest well, can see a 40% profit increase and an increase in shareholder value over about 15 years vis-a-vis their peers. So this is an important topic. It has real impact on the organisation now and in the future. And the key thing is that it's about improving business performance, which the 5% that lead to the 40% do. It's not about just improving project management. It's amazing how many executives, when they're involved in projects, feel that they really ought to go out and learn something about project management. They really want to learn something about project control, which is what we're going to cover. Learning about project management is neither necessary nor even useful. So we're going to cover the controls you need to drive your strategy and projects to success. Most of these controls do not appear in the standard project methodologies or handbooks, and if they do, they probably don't belong there because they're not project management controls. One reason why project performance has remained poor for so long has been that the focus has been on improving project management, whereas the critical controls are outside of project management. Only 5 of the 32 controls we're going to discuss in these sessions are inside project management. Now, our views may be very different to many that you've heard before because we approach projects and project controls from a business strategy perspective. We focus on eliminating waste, delivering value, and demonstrating success. Perspectives that are, unfortunately, not the norm. And some project managers will have apoplexy with some of the advice we will give you, but that's what works. It's not what's standard, but that's why we get the result. A lack of deficient controls cost real money and result in significant waste. Now, it is not as if we're going to talk about something that's totally and radically new in terms of all of the controls, but some of them will probably be new to you. And you'll understand for the first time the ramifications if these controls are not in place and effective. So what we're going to talk about, don't make your existing approaches obsolete. They just refocus them onto success and value delivery. Now, as we go through the controls, you may say, we've got that, we do that. But do you do it rigorously? Do you do it every time? Do you do it with the required perspective, which is often not the project manager or management perspective? Do you do it focused on success? Are your controls effective in terms of the results delivered? Or are you just wasting time and effort? See, every crack, every hole, every blemish in how you set up your projects and control waste, cost and time reduces the business value. Imagine a bowl of water. The bowl looks fine, but there are some fine holes and hairline cracks that allow water to seep or flow away. Depending on where these flaws are on the bowl will determine how much water or business value is lost. If these flaws are at the top of the bowl, little will be lost. If they're near the bottom, then most of the water, or in this case, value, will be lost. Some controls are near the top and others are down the sides and near the bottom. But each will increase the level of time, cost and value wasted if it's not appropriate, operational and effective. So most organisations we have found need to urgently improve their project controls. When you do improve your controls, you can eliminate the significant waste and move to the top 5% that consistently deliver totally optimized projects. The top 5% also deliver increased profits and shareholder value, as we're showing you. This is a critical area to get right. What these controls are and what they need to be doing is what we're going to cover in these sessions. But before I go on, why should you listen to me? Well, I'm Jed Simms. I'm founder of Totally Optimized Projects and creator of TOP. We founded TOP in 1994, but I have over 40 years of strategy execution and value delivery experience. But life sort of changed in 1986 when I got a phone call from the PA to the CEO of the bank of which I was head of strategy. And I was told he wanted to see me immediately and he was livid, which is not a phone call any executive wants to get. I went to see him. He gave me this tirade on projects and the failure of projects. I said, that's true. I can't disagree, but IT projects in particular don't report to me. He said they do now. So I was suddenly accountable for all projects in the bank. And we weren't doing well. And nor were any other banks, nor was any other organisation in Australia or the world. So if we're getting such poor results worldwide, despite the high quality of people involved in projects, there must be something fundamentally wrong. So I started by challenging the orthodox approaches to project delivery. And then I was invited to join the Boston Consulting Group as a regional IT strategist, accountable for determining where the value goes on projects. And we conducted worldwide research that identified that there was a direct correlation between organisational capability and project results. How well the organisation was set up to successfully deliver projects had a direct correlation to the results, which makes sense, except no one's looking at it. We can actually measure this capability. We also defined the bridge between strategy and results because there were two whole areas missing out of the standard methodologies. They focused on technical delivery and project delivery, but forgot the business performance improvement and the strategic delivery aspects, which TOP includes. And so over the years we have developed and packaged our expertise for you in TOP. So over 40 years of background goes into this, practical experience, successes, failures, but now we've worked out what you need to do, what controls need to be in place to be successful. So let's go back to the core components and controls. Accountability for these controls is spread across the business executives, investment committees, sponsors, steering committees, portfolio managers, and project managers. They all need to understand and execute their respective controls well to eliminate waste. And in this first session, we're going to cover the three basic components over three separate podcasts. These are the foundations that you need to have in place. In subsequent sessions, we'll cover the controls required at the investment, governance, portfolio, and project levels. And we'll give you checklists and guidance on assessing your current controls. You may believe that your organisation is average or okay at managing the required controls. But the difference between an average and a good organisation is a factor of 3. Good organisations get 3 times the returns on their project investments to the average. Really great organisations get 5 or more times the returns. So the opportunity is to increase your net returns 3 to 5-fold. I know these sound like extremely high numbers, but most of the waste that's happening with projects at the moment is invisible. You don't see it, you don't measure it, you don't know about it. Therefore, it accumulates, no one is addressing it, no one is managing it. That is why we're giving you these controls. So let's get started. But before we do, let's just focus on one thing. It's not only what you do, but how you do it and when you do it. So the timing is also important. So let's look at the 3 core components. Current state, change, future state. Now you may be saying, is that it? But stay with me here, because each of these 3 components are critical and the basis of every project. Yet in most projects, each of these 3 components is compromised to some degree. And if you can't get these basics right, your project is guaranteed to waste time and money and miss the strategic opportunities, to cost too much, take too long, and deliver too little. So let's look at them in more detail. And we start where you should start, at the end with the future state. The first component of any project should be to define the future state, sometimes referred to as the to be. Now, in most projects, everybody knows where they're going, but few know exactly what they're trying to achieve in clear, specific, measurable business terms. Instead, projects define goals, objectives, deliverables, solutions, capabilities, and so on, often in general ambiguous and mostly unmeasurable terms. Not a good start. Even documented to be states are often defined at far too high a level. It's just a complete waste of time. So your first control is to know exactly what you're trying to achieve in the business, in business terms, and we call these desired business outcome statements. These statements should describe your future state in clear, specific, measurable terms to define how your business will look after the end of the project, when everything is working just right in business as usual. So where you start is not with the project, but after the end of the project, when you've actually delivered everything, when you've changed everything, when you've reaped the benefits. What does it look like then? That's what you need to define, and to define this takes a couple of hours. This is not a massive assignment. To get this going takes just a short time. Now, many of you will have lists of outcomes for your projects. However, here we're using the word outcome in a very specific way. What we're referring to here are clear, specific, measurable descriptions of the business end states, what you're trying to achieve, how you're operating in the future when everything is working just right. More common uses of the word outcomes include as a substitute for the word capabilities, which some project teams do, as a substitute for the word benefits, which some methodologies do, or in terms of objectives, which many business cases do. So we are talking about clear, specific, measurable statements. Like this: we accurately invoice all service calls within 24 hours. This can be measured. Do we or don't we invoice all service calls within 24 hours? Is it all of them? Are they accurate? Are they within 24 hours? Each component of this is measurable. Now you may say, yeah, we do this. But if that is true, then your organization is the exception. Very much the exception. In research that Top conducted over 59 projects in 27 large organizations, none, that is 0, of those projects had identified their desired business outcomes in clear, specific and measurable terms. Many had target objectives, which they called outcomes, and some had benefits, which they called outcomes, but these were not clear, specific or measurable. We recently saw a project that after 21 months was now starting to define the desired business outcomes 3 months out from delivery. They had an 85-page business case, lots of words, objectives, statements, claims of benefits, but no clear specific outcomes. Now that they are defining their desired business outcomes, where they want the business to be, how they want the business to operate, the project team is telling them that the solution isn't actually built to supply those capabilities. So they've wasted money developing a solution that does not meet their needs, and they've wasted the opportunity to work the way they wanted, and they're not realized the resultant benefits. Another source of waste. Defining your desired business outcomes is simple to do, and it's amazing that it's not done rigorously every time on every project. The good news is they can be defined for projects in flight. So even if you've started major projects, you can do this after the event to refocus the project if necessary, if it's clear that it's not addressing the desired business outcomes. Once defined, your desired business outcomes become your primary control, because delivery of these outcomes is what the project's all about, and they in turn will deliver the benefits and value. So the second control is to define the business benefits and value that these outcomes will enable or deliver, and then quantify their value. But here it's essential that each benefit is linked to the outcome that will deliver it. In this way, you will know the value of each outcome, how many benefits and what value does that outcome deliver, and when you map out, as we'll discuss shortly, your outcomes into a delivery roadmap, you know when those benefits are going to be available. So Benefits, sometimes outcomes and benefits are used synonymously. This is a mistake and immediately means you're going to compromise your benefits delivery. Benefits can look like, in this case, reduced working capital, eliminated write-offs, and reduced serviceman time were three of the benefits with this particular outcome. So when this outcome is achieved, these benefits become available to be achieved. But if we don't achieve 24 hours and we only achieve 5 days, then the value of these benefits will diminish, or at least some of them. So you need to get your outcomes right, get the benefits right, and then track the value as you go through. The next control may seem a bit odd at first. When you've agreed your outcomes, you can then organize them into an end-to-end outcomes dependency roadmap. So you can see in which sequence the outcomes need to be delivered to avoid time and cost overruns, and when the outcomes with the most value attached will be delivered. This roadmap also gives you control over any subsequent proposed changes to your project, as you now know which outcomes deliver which benefits and which outcomes are linked to downstream outcomes and benefits. So if you change one outcome, what downstream impacts will it have? So this simple control actually gives the governance team for the first time real control over their scope, the value they're going to deliver, and when it's going to be delivered. And this is virtually impossible to do on most projects today because they haven't linked their benefits to their outcomes and their outcomes to each other. So your future state definition control makes clear what your project is to achieve, when, and its business value. Now I know this sounds obvious. As we've mentioned earlier, few projects ever do this definitively. Starting with the end defined is essential. As the Cheshire Cat said in Alice in Wonderland, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there, which is why it's so important that you get this right. So many projects run off the rails, incurring additional time and costs as they meander to some compromised endpoint. Indeed, without defining their outcomes, benefits and value, they probably didn't have any rails in the first place. Start today with the end defined in clear, specific, measurable terms, and ask yourself, do your projects really do this today? Or do they just use the word outcomes to cover capabilities, objectives, or benefits? If we can't get the basics right, we have no chance of success. In the next session, we'll look at the next set of controls under the current state. Look forward to talking to you then.